evening. I'm Gerry Kushner at 1106 Fetchit Road. Previous speakers have talked about the need to increase teacher capacity. I want to spend a couple minutes talking about a couple areas of the budget where you might be able to save some money. I took a look at the budget, and in the sheriff's area it shows that we contracted with the Humane Society to take care of animals picked up by animal control. This year, we spent $313,000 on that contract. We took them approximately 560 animals, basically dogs. That means we spent approximately $600 per animal we've taken in. That's nothing short of ludicrous. Each animal wasn't worth that much money. It doesn't represent good stewardship of the citizens' money to spend that kind of money doing that function. Any reasonable person will come up with a cheaper way to address it, and it should get further reviewed. Another area of possible savings is that several years ago, an outside wall of the Rivermont Fire Station became structurally unstable, and the upper level meeting room and fundraising area was shut down. The lower part of the firehouse for garaging the emergency equipment and the living area for firefighters continued to be usable. Instead of getting engineers to develop a solution at a reasonable cost, our fire and rescue management seized on this situation to propose a total replacement of the station. Obviously, the Rivermont volunteers weren't going to object. They're going to get a brand new facility. The long and short of it is that we now have approval for capital spending of $5.5 million for that monstrosity that you displayed on the screen when the budget was talked about. That huge gold-plated firehouse. The Taj Mahal that's out at the airport. Clearly the new station provides substantial additional capabilities in the old one. But the reality is that fire stations are garages for emergency equipment. You got to have a little bit of living space, and you need some fundraising space. The old station was nothing to brag about, but it got the job done. In 2006, a consultant was hired by a county to look at fire and rescue services, and they recommended combining Rivermont and Fort Valley, building one station to service both areas. The new station didn't get located where the consultant recommended, and the Fort Valley station isn't going to be combined with Rivermont. Why pay a consultant for professional advice and then not take it? The North Warren Station, built a dozen or so years ago, only cost approximately $2 million. While it may have a few problems now, it's nice and it's a functional station. It's a great station if you've been out there. If the government was interested in being good stewards of citizens' money, it would find more practical, less costly solutions to problems rather than pursuing the gold option. While the best solution in mind for me would have been to spend a couple $100,000 to fix the old firehouse, the next best would be to replace it with a duplicate of North Warren, but that's not the plan. If we saved a couple of million on the fire station, it would go a long way to pay for some of these teacher increases. While this project may be way down the line, maybe too far to stop, my understanding is it currently hinges on the airport authority actually transferring ownership of the land. We've got a big plan and maybe even a contract signed, but we don't own the land yet. We should tell them we aren't ready for it and rethink this gold-plated solution. A county staff experienced in construction I overheard talking about this said that they had offered advice on possible savings of over $1 million on this structure, and they were blown off because it didn't fit the narrative of creating a Taj Mahal, a monument to management. This is troubling. Also, I understand that the actual financing of the new station is tied up with money for a social services improvement project and something to do with a workforce housing project involving the EDA. That raises a flag for me. We shouldn't be committing to work without ensuring that the funding is finalized, if that's the case. With the EDA debacle, the animal control overspending, and going along with the building of a gold-plated firehouse, I've lost trust in this board to manage the government and its finances. A prudent action would be to freeze this year's budget at last year's amounts. If there are critical extra spending that really is justified, like health insurance premiums or increased teacher pay, then let's find some cuts like this to offset. Thank you.
Cheryl, Masella.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Masella. I live at 1133 Happy Ridge Drive. I moved here 16 years ago from Loudoun County because I wanted to raise my daughters in a less hectic environment. I commute every day to Washington, D.C., which is not a fun task. Many of you realize just how far it is. It's about 2 to 3 hours each way. And I'm very upset at what has happened with the EDA debacle, with this budget presentation I just saw. I'm a CPA. I can't even believe that that was considered to be a budget presentation. And I have been in financial accounting for over 35 years. There are always ways to save money. And all of you really need to look hard at it because I'm not paying any more in taxes. My assessed value went up from 267 to now 350 to 60,000. So you're telling me, oh, we're not increasing the percent, the amount per 100, but you increase my value like 30%. Based on some study that a group did that I don't know who they are, but I just had my house appraised because I was going to refinance because, you know, you guys told me it was worth $360,000. And guess what? My appraisal came in at $327,000. Appraisals, assessments should typically be lower than market value or appraisals. So, things are not adding up. And you guys, especially you, you're in my district. You guys need to be accountable for this. By the way, I didn't vote for you. And you need to fix this problem. And I agree teachers should be paid more here in Warren County. One thing though that none of the educators that have been up here tonight addressed was the bullying problem you have in your school system. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's a real problem. I have grandchildren in your school system, and there's some bad bullying going on at the lower level school systems that the teachers just ignore. I don't know whether they're tired, whether they're not paid enough so they don't care, but it's a real problem, and paying them more money isn't going to solve that problem. As far as the SOLs, I don't agree with them. I think you're teaching your kids to pass the SOL, you're not teaching your kids.
Yes.
I work with my homework, and I'm amazed at how they're being taught and the new way of doing math and such. And I show them the way I learned, and it's like a light bulb. Wow. And they suddenly can do the work. So, you know, I do think teachers should be paid more overall, but I think there are, like anywhere, some good ones and some poor ones. And especially at LFK, there are a lot of poor ones, I'm sorry to say. The Warren County Middle School took a lot of the good teachers from LFK, unfortunately. But anyway, I'm here to volunteer my services if you need someone to look into your budget and recommend it.
Michele, Kushner.
Hello, my name is Michele Kushner, 1106 Fetchit Road in Bentonville. Thank you for letting me speak. I know it's a long night for y'all, and it's a long night for everyone here. I hope you know that it's coming from concerned citizens, and it's encouraging to see so many concerned citizens. There have been real estate tax increases for the past 5 years. As a conservative person, I prefer less rather than more government. When the government spends more money, the residents have less to spend on managing their lives. There are lots of fixed income citizens in Warren County, and when you spend more of their money, they have to make decisions on how to live on less. I've been trying to follow the EDA debacle, and it appears the government hasn't kept its eye on the ball. The fallout from all of this, in the end, is that probably citizens will be left holding the bag for millions of dollars. I and many citizens have lost trust in the board to reasonably manage the government and its finances. Teachers deserve a raise to be competitive with other counties. And honestly, they should have gotten this increase several years ago. Not being accountable for where your money is an injustice to all the residents. Offsetting cuts should be found. Hopefully the EDA matters will be resolved in the coming year, and we'll know better what citizens' liability is for the plan and for the responsibility for the future. For now, cut the waste. Thank you.
Donna Coates.
Donna Coates, 341 Mount Oriole in Linden. Never talked to you before, and I've never been to a meeting before. But I do know that you're going to impact my life. Been doing a little research, and I understand that about 10% of our population is under the poverty level. That's me now. Not old enough for Social Security, and not too old to get another job. The last job I had, I was what was a resource auditor. My job was to look at the entire process of a production line. And I was to help cut waste. Every single part of your budget needs to be looked at to cut waste. Then when we cut the waste, then we can give the teachers the raise that they need. I guess that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Chris North.
How you doing? I'm Chris North, 985 at Orchard Drive, Linden. I didn't come up here to tell you guys how to budget and spend money. I think everybody else has done a pretty good job of that. I'm a long-time resident of Warren County. I was born and raised here. You know, I don't know a lot about how all this works. I've got a pretty good grasp on it. One thing I've learned, me and my wife in the last few years, is how to budget our money. That was one of the first things that we really agreed on once we got married. We don't go above and beyond our means. You know, we know where our budget is. I think that's something some people could learn. We can't just make money appear at the snap of our fingers. I think in this case, at the hands of a vote. You know, we account for the cost of living. There's some things we can't account for. You know, that's a shortcoming of our officials. We can't account for that. My paychecks stay the same regardless of what you do with our taxes. I'm not going to make any more money. She's not going to make any more money. You can keep taking them up, but you know, there I stay at the same level. You know, I think with a lot of the things that are going on in this county and town, I think our ancestors would be beating down those doors with torches and pitchforks right now. And I firmly believe that. I think we've progressed past that a good bit. As you can see, there's no torches or pitchforks. in the building. I think we've traded those out for pens and ballots, and I truly hope that those pens and ballots have the same effect in the upcoming elections when they get here. I firmly believe that we need 100% accountability on this board, and any board in this town and county. We need fiscally responsible people and morally driven political servants. Thank you.
Tracie Lane.
My name is Tracie Lane, and I live at 645 Bragg Drive, Front Royal. And I've been sitting here listening to everything that's going on. I've been thinking a lot about coming in here tonight. It's 6 miles to the Clark County line from my house. About 12 to Fauquier, 15 to Loudon. My son goes to Warren County High School. That's why I'm standing here today. I'm standing here for my child. He can't cross those county lines to go to school. Okay, I can. I'm a teacher. I can't afford to teach in Warren County and support my children. I work in Loudon. Up until I went to Loudon a year and a half ago, my children also were eligible for free and reduced lunch. The clothes I'm wearing, I love the Blue Ridge thrift store because they keep my kids and I clothes. Okay, and the gentleman back there that asked somebody else to pay their taxes for him, you know, in exchange for a teacher not getting a pay raise. I drive Lyft part-time, and I don't know a single teacher in the state of Virginia that doesn't have a second income in our household. And I'll flip my app on, but when I leave here, and I'll give you a ride, and then I'll pay taxes for you.
Carmen, could you just address
Sorry.
the board?
I've been listening to the peanut gallery behind me the whole night, right? So, you know, yeah. I've been a teacher for 13 years. I have 4 degrees, 2 master's degrees. I have a middle child that is in college right now at VCU. She graduated Warren County High School. She was an A student, worked really hard in school. Actually, as an 8th grader, she was taking 10th grade classes. She was really smart. Her tuition, the grants that she got, didn't cover her tuition. I pay $800 a month for her to go to school. Her roommate, who lives in Yorktown, Virginia, a little bit more affluent than we are, right? Her dad's a rocket scientist, mom's a stay-at-home mom. She got a full ride, okay? She got a full ride because she had access to a ton of AP courses. She had access to dual enrollment courses that my child never had access to because she goes to school here in Warren County. This morning, my 17-year-old, who's a junior at Warren County High School, got in my car, and he's talking about the engineering teacher he had 2 years ago that no longer teaches in Warren County. I think we know where that teacher went, you know? My son is 99th percentile in the country for math. You know, this is the kid that's going to be solving some of our problems down the road. Our children in this community are the ones that are going to be solving these problems on down the road. In January, I went to Richmond. I walked the halls down in Richmond, and I walked into Oversharon's office. I sat on a couch and had a talk with Weber about the needs, not just in Loudoun County, but I talked about the kids here. I talked about my kids, and I talked about the teachers. And you know, I know that you guys are trying real hard. I came from West Virginia, and you know what the West Virginia teachers are doing, and it's getting to a point. Those teachers didn't walk out of those classrooms because they wanted more money. They wanted something that was fair to their kids. They wanted to stop seeing teachers from Berkeley County leave there and go to Frederick County and Loudoun County just like everybody else. And when I started teaching in Loudoun County a year and a half ago, I was one of 700 students, or 700 teachers, I'm sorry. Okay? They had a red carpet for us. It was weird, actually. It's really kind of creepy. But I've been sitting in the Board of Supervisors meetings in Loudoun County for the last couple months. I've been going to the school board meetings, and they're doing the exact same thing. You know, you guys aren't getting ahead right now. You know, you're not even breaking even, and I get that you guys can't compete with Loudoun County. Not many people can. Loudoun County can't compete with Loudoun County sometimes. You know, but all the way around us, all these schools, you know, there's a reason why the legislature did the increases they did, because they know what's coming. And you think it's bad now. You know, SOLs are one thing, I agree with you. You know, I'm not supposed to say this, but I hate SOLs. I think they're institutional child abuse, okay? But it's not just the SOLs. You know, when my kid, who's an A student, who is 2 years ahead, is a third grader, was reading on a college level, can't get a full ride to college because of where she went to school, this is a problem. You know, those teachers need not just what you guys are offering, but you need to keep doing that every year. Because my son should not be climbing in my car in the morning and mourning the loss of a teacher that he could learn from. Because now the teacher that's doing those classes is using YouTube videos and stuff like that because they don't have the skill set to be able to teach that, right? And you know, my son is committed to his education. You know, he gets up with me at 5:30 in the morning because I have a 37-mile commute. Well, we live up on top of the mountain, the bus doesn't come up there. So he sits at Jim's Country Store till time for the bus to go. And then in the afternoon, he gets off at Reynolds Road and he walks 2 miles up that mountain to go home every day. You know, that's a child that's committed to education. And so what I'm asking from you guys, and I hope that all the people in the audience, no matter what your political leanings are or where you're at, I agree, we need to figure out what happened with that, you know, the corruption, which is what that is, because it's costing our kids. Okay? But I ask that you guys fully fund our future, and that means you're funding the future for our children and you're funding the future for our communities. Thank you.
Good evening, Amber Morris, 3574 Houseville Road, Farmville. Trust first, taxes later. I'm here to speak as a Warren County Public School graduate, much like some of the others who spoke tonight, and I'm a proud Warren County Public School graduate. I was blessed with the opportunity to go to both private school and public school, and I chose to come back to Warren County Public School to graduate. And with that being said, I owe much of my success in my short-term adulthood to some of the teachers and senior administrators that are here with us tonight. So I support a tax increase if it goes to something such as funding our teachers. However, the EDA, town, county, and schools are currently to be investigated by a special grand jury. I, like some of the others who spoke tonight, do not mind supporting the tax increase for a greater cause if that is where the money is going and improvements are being made. I was an early graduate from Warren County Public Schools and top of my class. I graduated from Warren County Public School at the age of 17. I dove into a career in finance right at 17 at minimum wage, and I worked hard for my minimum wage to climb the ladder. I purchased my first home here in Warren County at the age of 18, just before my 19th birthday, on my own. So, don't say I don't support Warren County Public Schools because I do not support the tax increase that's presented before us tonight. As a community, we feel rightfully so as if we've been attacked from within. We've lost trust in much of our local government. As constituents, we have fallen victim to the lies that have been fed to us year after year. Furthermore, as a community, we are partially responsible for what we are currently facing. As you see here tonight, we have what appears to be a record number in attendance in all of the meetings that I've attended, which I attend regularly. Whether they're here for the matters regarding the EDA, the proposed budget, or to give you advice as your representatives, they've showed up. Finally. Thank you. As a community, we are here speaking out, laying out our expectations, and we can attribute this attendance tonight to constituents who are fed up, who feel unheard, who feel betrayed. However, we all need to show up, and we all need to continue to show up all of the time, not only to public hearing tax increases. We are partially responsible by blindly voting and electing those officials who, I'm sorry, but offer nothing more than lip service. It is my hope as a lifelong resident of Warren County that we will all continue to show up, be involved, engaged, and aware of our local government, to offer you advice, feedback, and spread awareness of what it is we expect from those who we elect. I understand that some of the information that's not privy to the public about active investigations is responsible. It can alter an investigation. However, you cannot expect to more than double the allotted budget for an investigation just before you propose the public hearing for a tax increase, and not expect the rebuttal that you've received tonight. Until this investigation has ended and we know collectively as a county and as a whole how much we are owed, how much we're going to expect to recover of what we are owed, the tax rate should be kept flat and the budget should be frozen. While it's not a direct result of the allocation of the money for the investigation budget, it surely does seem we are paying the price, most literally. Until the investigation is complete, do not raise our taxes. Faith in our community must be restored first. This is a sad time for all of us. It won't happen overnight, and it certainly won't happen over a tax increase. So I just ask that you've heard all of our wishes tonight, and I thank you for your continued hard work and efforts.
Peterson.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Mark Peterson. I live at 505 Friesland View Lane in Linden, Virginia. A couple things about the presentation that I saw struck me. I wanted to highlight them to the board, to the group. Number one, pretty much on slide number one, bullet number one, it said, hold the line, no tax increase. Okay, I'm thinking about that. Going through all the budget. Into the slide package, it said, well, we're going to go from 6 cents for every penny we get 424K of revenue. So 6 cents times 424K is 2.5 million. So the budget has the tax increase baked in already. So I don't understand, well, so that's how that works. Second thing is I empathize with the need for the teachers to receive a raise if they haven't had a raise. What was telling was the school budget. It had the bar chart with the red, which was the operating plus debt, meaning cap and capital, and blue is the operating. So the people in the back who can think about, oh, we need to pay our teachers more salary, that's the blue line. The red line are the like, how many new school buildings do we have here? So the people who want the teachers to make more money, the money has always been there. Because if you look at that bar chart, it was chosen to be spent on buildings that probably didn't really need to be built. I don't know. So I wrote a letter to the Warren County, or the Record Observer. It used to be the Record Observer. Everything around here is new. Everything around here is new. How many new schools do you have? The new jail, the new sheriff's office. Everything is new. When does it stop? When does it stop? So it stops actually now, I suppose. I mean, so because everything's new, you don't need to build anything new anymore. You should have taxes. So anyways, that and there are other things where the citizens and I'm sure you guys, things that look to be free aren't really free. So in other words, as an example of which, there was a FEMA grant for, we can hire 17 new firefighters. Oh, and it's going to be, their salaries will be underwritten less $250K for the first year. Then the second year, the county would have to come up with some other higher number. I think it was 600K. In the out years 4 and out, they'd have to come up with $1 million. So there's $1 million right there, if you keep everybody. And of course, you gotta have, so that's how government grows everybody, and with things like that. So I'll close with this. When I moved in here 12 years ago, my taxes were less than I was paying in Maryland. They were about $1,800. Now I'm paying about $2,900, and I think they're proposed to go up to 32. Dollar for dollar, that's got to come from somewhere else. So when you guys have a budget shortfall of 5.6 million, okay. Well, when Obamacare kicked in and my insurance premium tripled from $100 to $300 every 2 weeks, I had a budget shortfall. Well, guess what I did? Well, you know, instead of buying meat at Martin's, I eat the venison that I hunted and butchered myself. You know, so everybody here is constrained with that type of reality. So you guys don't seem like you are, and so please deal with the reality that you have and the suggestions of no tax increases, especially while the EDA investigation was going on. It's a good one. I would suggest you cut everything and cut an additional $760K, which is the seed money for your lawsuit to get back your $17 million.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for wanting to be a part of the
Can I have your
officials.
name and address,
Oh,
please?
William
I'm sorry.
Huck, 409 East Main Street, I'm sorry. Thank you for wanting to be a part of the local officials that help to run our area. Y'all been berated tonight numerous times over. It's not what I'm here for. I love this community. I chose to come to this community and be here and be a part of this community day in and day out, and will continue to be for the rest of my life. I hope it's a long one. I've become friends with many of you sitting up here on the board. I've become friends and family with many of the patrons that are out here tonight. It's a strain for all of us. We're on a Titanic right now. What we need are leaders that are going to stand up and do what is appropriate and what is right to save everybody on that boat, not pick and choose who they are going to save. That's where we are at this moment. So I ask each and every one of you to go home tonight and look in the mirror, just as I do every single night, and say, am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution? Stand up and be a leader that we can follow. That's what we are looking for. We are not looking for somebody to tell us what we have to do. We are not looking for mom and dad to belittle us and put us in a corner when we don't do what is right. What we are looking for is someone that's going to stand up and say, I made a mistake. I'm going to own my mistake, and let me be the leader that you can follow behind day in and day out for the rest of my days in this community. So please, take that to heart. Thank you.
Bob Hill.
Bob Hill, 1477 Kendrick Ford Road, Front Row. I come tonight in front of you, hoping that you're getting an opportunity to look behind me. There are an awful lot of people here who have sentiments probably very similar to mine, and that is, things aren't going really well here in Front Royal. I came to this community recently, 4 years ago. I was a teacher for many years, and then had experiences in other fields. So I do support teachers. I can remember many years ago when I was a teacher, coming back from a graduate program and sitting down with my administrator and saying to him, boy, my salary. And he said to me, you know, Bob, if we were to go out and be babysitters, we would get a salary for an hourly rate for one child. We've got 30. We've got them for 8 hours a day, 6 sessions, so we've got 180 children. And we do it for 30 months a year. Figure those numbers and you'll look at it and you say, hey, we are underpaid. Teachers are underpaid. They need more money. As a teacher, I used to present to my students every year the following question. It's called the Riddle of the Sphinx. It's a mythical story about a mythical character in Greece who sort of lived between Sparta and Athens. And the story goes, what walketh on 4 legs in the morning, 2 by day and 3 by night. And if the passage or the individual could answer that question, he was allowed to move between Sparta, the more militaristic portion of Greece, and Athens. And if he couldn't, he was tossed off. I've asked that to politicians. My wife gets furious at me. She said, why do you do it? How come? And I answer, because if they can answer that question, I know that that individual has the ability to think. Not just simply give a retort, but to think beyond just a simple answer. You have to think beyond that simple answer. You've got to look at your budget. You've got to say to yourself, hey, how do we get out of this mess? One of the questions I've got for you is what assets do we as a community have? Because I understand that EDA had assets, the community has assets. Do we have more assets that really liabilities, and should we get rid of them? So do some thinking. And by the way, look at that crowd, because they're not happy. Neither am I. Oh, by the way, no new taxes until you straighten it out.
Lindsey Orndorff.
Lindsey Orndorff, 3-4 Rogersville Road. I used to be very proud and brag about the fact that I am born and raised from Warren County. I also had deep concerns and hurt for trust that I have put in people that have obviously not reciprocated that trust. About 25 years ago, I stood in front of the Board of Supervisors. I was in 6th grade. I know I don't look that old now. Unfortunately, at that time we were trying to advocate for a new high school. That did not come in my time. But unfortunately, I received very negative and hurtful comments from the Board of Supervisors that led me to never stand in front of the board, town council, or school board. I can stand in front of 3, 4, 5-year-olds who are at risk or have developmental delays all day long. But that left me scarred. I now stand in front of you about 25 years later saying, we have the buildings. We have the beautiful buildings that my children graciously walk into every day. But we desperately need the teachers inside to make the inside just as beautiful as the outside. I originally said I was going to stand here and say, I'm not standing here as a taxpayer. I'm not standing here as a teacher. I'm standing here as a parent. In reality, I am standing here as a taxpayer. That's part of who I am. I am standing here as a teacher. That is who I am. Those children, from the day they walk in my classroom or the day I start coaching them, they are mine. And their parents know that. I stand here begging that not we increase the taxes, but please, for the sake of my biological and all the children that I've taken on over the last 13 years, please look into the teacher increases. The percentage, although it is a percent, and people are chuckling behind me, it means the difference between me being able to stay loyal to Warren County and remain in this county and raise my children in this county where I want them to be raised, and having to take them somewhere else.
My turn? Sorry, I had to step up. Good evening. Sorry we're here so late. I'm going to be very brief. Joe Andrews, 735 McGuff Farm Lane. I don't want to see any more increase in my taxes. Like was stated previously, you folks raised our assessments. Now we're talking about raising the tax rate. Don't do it. I don't want to live in Fairfax. I'll move to one of those other counties with a lower tax rate. I think Shenandoah was the one. Additionally, we can all make more money by traveling down 66. I'm a contractor. I choose to work here and make less money because it's convenient for me because I don't want to sit in traffic. If these teachers want to commute and go somewhere else, let them do it. There's a trade-off to working here in this county. It's a beautiful place, a short commute, and you got a nice view out the window. It comes with a trade-off. Additionally, there's some places you folks can save some money. I know you can. I'll point out one. We got a corridor connector bus that rides around that's completely empty. There's 3 of them as at my last count, and I've never seen anyone on them, more than a handful. I know it's funded by multiple different businesses, not just the county, and there's some federal funding and everything else. But who cares? Who's putting the fuel in it? Who's paying for it? We don't. Cut the spending. Knock this off. We don't want to live in Fairfax. Thank you.
Eric Bartok.
They left.
Oh, Fred Andreae.
Hi, my name's Fred Andreae. I live at 367 Overall Road in Bentonville. I'm here to encourage you to support the proposed county tax increase. Warren County provides many important services: public safety, fire and rescue, parks and recreation, trash collection, library, etc. But the most important is education. We have wonderful new and refurbished schools, but our teachers are fleeing in huge numbers. This is not sustainable. I remember my first job, my first real job. I was enthusiastic, committed to working hard, and a little scared. I knew the basics, but I didn't know how things really worked. That it takes on-the-job experience. The same is true for our Warren County teachers. They're good, hardworking people, doing their best and learning on the go. As a teacher, you learn how to deal with students with all sorts of different needs through practice and trial and error. How to deal with the smart kids bored because they already get it. How to encourage the quiet ones to speak up and participate. How to interest the kids who can't sit still. It takes a few years, but our teachers learn those skills. We train them, and then they leave. We become a farm team for the surrounding jurisdictions. Why? Because we have the lowest salaries in the region. Well, our students are not only our county's future, they're our future. They're our legacy. They're what we leave behind. The world is changing fast, a bit too fast for me, but for our children and grandchildren, this is their one best opportunity to learn the skills for dealing with the future. It's true a tax increase will hit us all in the pocketbook, but our need for teacher pay increases is too great to postpone for another year. We have to keep our experienced teachers here in Warren County. We have wonderful school buildings. Now we need to raise our teachers' salary in order to retain them, so the ones that we've nourished and trained stay here and give back to our students the benefit of that experience. Thank you.
Mark Eggert.
Mark Eggers, 721 Campbell Circle, Front Row. I just wanted to give you a couple of concrete suggestions on being able to cut the budget. First thing is, all these suggestions have to do with the sheriff's office. I believe they're overstaffed. First thing I want to mention, back in 2014 year budget, which was the last year that the sheriff's office ran a jail for Warren County. That was before that boondoggle of a regional jail was thrown out there, which has become a huge waste of money. So the 2014 budget, the line item in the budget is corrections, which was the jail next to the courthouse there. 2.1 million to run the jail. Also that year, court security was a little bit under 300,000. So when the boondoggle was open north of here, that 2.1 million should have gone close to zero. I mean, granted, they still had to do a couple of transporting people on trial that had to be held at the courthouse for the couple hours before the trial or whatnot, but not 2.1 million for that. That should have gone close to zero. Well, it didn't. In fact, the next year, that line item that was previously called corrections was changed to court services, not court security, but court services. So that next year you had a line item for court security, which was still roughly the same amount, a little under 300,000, but you had this new item that, and it was the exact same item as corrections, because when you list your budget, you have the previous 2 years' budgets. So it matches the exact amount that had been corrections for the jail, but now it's called court services of 800,000, which should have been zero, or close to zero, let's say. Now, the court services budget is over $1 million. The court security was apparently absorbed into court services, so that the one that was 200 and some thousand got absorbed in there. And now you've got this budget for court services of over $1 million, which it should still be around 300,000. So there's over 700,000 that, I don't know if y'all are aware of this, but you've been duped by McKeithron, okay? You built in Mount McKeithron a few years back. I should call it the Taj Mahal, like somebody else called one of the things. So, a couple other things with the sheriff's office. You all have been proposed to do, and I think you are approving it, this career development program. That's just a euphemism for a pay raise. So if they want a pay raise, just call it a pay raise. Don't bring up some fancy sounding word, career development. And my feeling is that should be definitely, in today's budget climate, that should definitely be done away with. If you do want to give the deputies a pay raise, tell McKeithron to give his salary to them, and that'll cover their pay raise. Next thing is, like I was saying, they're overstaffed. Their criminal investigation division has 9 investigators in it, and they couldn't even figure out who threw the rock through Jennifer McDonald's window. So some of those positions need to be eliminated. Nine investigators in criminal investigations, and they couldn't figure it out. People like myself and there were numerous other people in the community who figured it out in about 5 minutes. Next thing on the Sheriff's Department budget, which you all have taken over, is the school resource officers. You have, just this past year, you had the funding the school resource officers in the elementary schools. I can see maybe having one in the high schools, but in the elementary schools, do we really need sheriff's deputies to keep the peace among first graders? I mean, seriously. So my suggestions are, scrap the career development program, it's just a pay raise. really take some time and look into what went on in past budgets with the corrections department budget. That was 2.1 million and should have gone down to 0, but instead it continued at 800,000 and now it's over $1 million. Now I know part of that is court security was incorporated into that, but court security was only 300,000. So my suggestion is, those are just a few things that I noticed just looking through the budget documents of the last few years, over the last week. And I'm sure there's a lot more in there. Thank you.
Krista Adanitsch.
Krista Adanitsch, 9017 Stonewall Jackson Highway. I'm a mom, I'm a wife. I'm also a home educator. I know what it takes to educate children. I wear many hats. So let me tell you about my family. We're a family of 10. The head of our household is a disabled veteran. He runs a service-disabled small business known as ACOM. He also works full-time for AT&T, which he's about to get laid off. Okay, so your decisions affect my house wholeheartedly. We pay our taxes diligently. Like I said, I'm a wife and mother. I'm a nurse, as you guys know from my previous work with Earth Local. I am an educator. I'm a school counselor. I'm a school lunch lady, a recess and playground supervisor, a bus driver, literally. I'm my own school board, my own school secretary. I'm a school nurse. I'm a groundskeeper. I'm my own school administrator. I'm also in charge of the classroom as school janitor. I don't get paid for my job. When I decorate my schoolhouse, AKA my home, or make needed repairs, I do so out of my own budget, which is currently funded by the 3 jobs that we currently have in our household. We balance our budget, and so should you. My pay does not increase. I do not qualify for pay raises as a per diem nurse for Valley Health. I will not get a pay increase. My husband's set to lose his job. We find out June 1st. We have 8 children to support. Your decisions affect my household, but your lack of leadership has affected our entire community. We have pulled together hours worth of research, facts. We've brought them to you over the years. I don't want to spend my time here. I want to be at home with my family. I want you guys to be in charge of the hard decisions. I want you guys to be the fact finders. I want you guys to ask the questions. I want to be at home with my husband and with my children where I should be, rightfully so. I know you can find the money in your current budget to increase salaries for our teachers. Just like I had to look at my budget to shell out thousands of dollars, yes, thousands of dollars to educate my children, myself, for which I do not get paid. I put my 15-year-old child, my eldest, I put her in Lord Fairfax Community College. She tested into pre-calc and college-level English because Warren County Public Schools was not for my children. It had failed us. The school in which I was zoned for failed to meet its state standards, I don't know how many years in a row. I had to make the hard decision myself to pull my children out of school because they weren't learning like they should have been. You absolutely need to give teachers their resources. You absolutely need to make these hard decisions. I'm not here to criticize anybody. I'm just asking you, look in the budget, find it, find the money, skim something off the top, okay? Because you're affecting my life. You're affecting all of our lives. My neighbor lives on a fixed income. She's disabled. I know for a fact that woman lives off of cereal. You're affecting her life. This is a trickle-down effect. Where does this money come from? I'm already paying taxes on 2 trailers, 2 vehicles, my home, which it was reassessed for $73,000 more than a previous assessment. I bought my home in 2014 for $315,000. That is public information based off the county GIS website. Y'all assessed it for $417,000. My home was a dump when I bought it. My kitchen cabinets were falling apart. The tile floor was a wreck. I had mold issues that I had to remediate. I had contractors, I had budgets, I had stuff that I had to do to make my home safe for my family and for my children so that I could provide a good environment for them. I had to make hard decisions. I had to find out where the money was going to come from. I'm already working my hands to the bone. I'm doing the work of so many people, and you guys just ask for more. Please, know what you're asking, citizens. You've got to find it somewhere. And you guys need to be held accountable to ask the hard questions so that we're not in this mess, so that we're not missing money, so that money isn't being misappropriated. Please, I beg of you, as a citizen, I want to be at home with my children. I don't want to be here in front of you.
Michele, thank you.
Hello, Michele Matthiae, 20 Blue Ridge Avenue, Front Royal. I do not envy you guys today, but I do appreciate that most of you are at least making eye contact and paying respect to the people that are here. We appreciate that. First, I want to make something very clear to the teachers and everybody that's behind me. I see you. I can't turn around because they'll get mad, but I see you. And I hear you. But I want to make something very clear. The portion of the community here protesting the tax increase are not protesting salary increases or school funding. What seems to be missing is the realization that if we allow the tax increase to happen without accountability, we gloss over all the corruption and it gives the impression that it's okay to be irresponsible stewards of our hard-earned money. Please understand, if the budget was handled correctly, we could offer so much more. Also, please understand that our outrage and concern doesn't come from what we see on social media. It comes from hours and hours of research. The recent audit of the EDA, $760,000 or $750,000, is more than half of what the schools are asking for right now. So let's consider those things too. So moving on. So I'm here to gain some clarity. We need more of an understanding of exactly what has transpired over these past few years, specifically focusing on properties bought by the EDA in the county. According to the articles of the Royal Examiner, a $5.3 million warehouse was purchased on Boss Street and has sat vacant for about 15 months. The taxpayers are liable for approximately $22,800 payment every month, with the majority of that being interest. We are paying on a property that has no positive income to speak of and has cost approximately $342,000 thus far, just sitting vacantly. And if you add that to the $750,000 that we're paying for the audit, that's $1,092,000. That's almost what the schools are requiring. So the money is coming from somewhere, like it's there. We've got to just use it properly. And how about the Stokes building on Main Street that is uninhabitable and was in need of restoration when purchased? What is the rationale for purchasing the property? Who proposed the purchase? Who authorized it? We would like to know how many properties the county and EDA has purchased. How many are revenue negative? Again, what is the rationale and criteria for purchasing these properties? How many properties are massive black holes for the taxpayers? Also, I've been inquiring to get more specific info on a map of properties owned by the EDA of the county, and it isn't readily available. So is there a map of Warren County that shows properties owned by the EDA, by the county, by the town, or together? And is it color coded so we can see it and it makes sense for us?
For example, just some primary colors like red for town council or county and blue for EDA, and you know, we can just and then mix the colors together for what's shared. So that's just some ideas. And we want to know what we're on the hook for, and if these properties are income producing. Cut the waste so we can give the teachers what they need. Trust first, taxes later. Thank you.
Is Becky Bartok also going?
Yes.
Okay. Chris Manion?
There she goes. Good evening, I'm Chris Manion from 1171 Morgan Ford Road in Warren County. I've heard tell that people are invited to serve the county. I volunteered, was nominated, and the folks to the chairman and the two to his left voted against me, or I'd be glad to be working for the county in that volunteer position. But I am glad to be here tonight, and I started teaching in 1972. And in fact, if y'all could raise my salary, I'd talk all night. But there's one thing that hasn't been mentioned about Warren County Schools, is the teachers and board member have told me, you can't pay good teachers bonuses. And you can't give bad teachers bad reps and decrease their salary or let them go. I've heard about competition with other counties, but I haven't heard about competition among teachers. There needs to be some if you want to get good teachers and get them happy about being rewarded and recognized. The county can't give bonuses to good teachers or let go of the ones that aren't very good, and I'm speaking as a long-time teacher, then you've got a lot of other problems in the Warren County schools that salaries. But I'm here to talk about the crisis that this board faces tonight and right now. You've lost credibility. You have no moral authority. All this has happened on your watch, so folks think you've been derelict in your duty. You've abdicated your responsibility to your staff and your appointees. You often trot them out to do the speaking for you. I seldom hear the elected officials of this county address issues to the press. It's always an appointed official. I like to hear our elected officials, and you'll hear about that at the end, because I do have some recommendations. One, anyway. Your supervisors, yes, but you've been supervised. You're being supervised. And the people that you have hired and appointed have gotten you into trouble because you haven't supervised them, they've been supervising you. And everybody on the board is shocked, desperate to know who caused this scandal. I brought along the answer. That's who caused it. Got it. Thank you very much. Saved me a lot of time. Look in the mirror. You are the responsible parties. Suck it up. Man up. Man. Woman up. A lot of folks think you, the members of this board, as well as your executive staff, are responsible for this mess. You've all presided over one boondoggle after another and raised taxes every year. And Mr. Eggert, who just spoke, deserves a standing ovation, who got a slap in the face from you all for having done the work that you and your staff should have done. For shame. I mean, you haven't quit yet? Just one instance. Last year after the Parkland school shooting, I've done I'm a long-time educator, but a long-time government investigator at Capitol Hill. Mr. McKeither and Mr. Drescher called for a tax hike right here to keep our children safe. They said we needed more deputies in the schools. Well, Parkland had a deputy on site. Mr. Chairman, he was a coward. His supervisor was an incompetent affirmative action hire. The sheriff was a political hack. He's been fired. The superintendent lied until he was caught out about the shooter. Cowardice, incompetence, backroom politics, cover-ups, outright lies. Mr. Chairman, thank goodness that can't happen here. Don't raise taxes, Mr. Chairman. Cancel last year's, oh my goodness, thanks, Doug. Was that 5 minutes? That time I said 3. Oh, bless your hearts. Here's my advice.
Continue. You can continue if you thought it was 30. Take a couple more minutes this time.
Thank you. The one thing I suggest as elected officials, every 3 months, each of you have a meeting here with the public, like this one, with your own constituents, separately, one at a time, and listen and talk back. Because I know that you have to sit here stone-faced very often and listen to those who are addressing you. I think it's more important now than ever to have communication both ways and to listen, even to people like Mr. Egger or Dr. Manion, to what they have to say and maybe do something about what they point out. It's very late in the game, if not too late. My time is up. Maybe yours is too. I don't know. We'll see soon.
Howarth?
My name is Tom Howarth. I live at 1 Lazy Living Lane. When any institution is controlled by one political influence for too long, you will have a scandal. And that is the situation we have in Warren County. We've had our scandal. I have a recommendation for you, which is that if in the next election the Democratic Party should win 65% of the votes, I haven't been drinking, by the way. They win 65% of the votes, they get 65% of the seats on the EDA board. If they get 35%, they get 35% of the seats on the EDA board. I would like to see in this county, and I'm not speaking for a political party, I'm speaking only for myself, I would like to see a political entity emerge in this county that's composed of Republicans, and Democrats, and Independents. And if you're willing to help create such a thing, but I think it should be a requirement, and I think this board that goes ahead and appoints the board of EDA, or to make it clear that we want a bipartisan representation. Now, if you don't like that, you should take it up with James Madison, because he created it. Now you say, well, you're going to politicize the EDA. It's already politicized. I don't want to make it political, I want to make it accountable. I don't mind my taxes going to schools. You can have my tax money for better teacher salaries or a place for them to live. I don't know anybody that volunteers to pay taxes, but I want something for my money. If you want to build affordable housing for teachers, you can have my money. If you want to do necessary infrastructure projects, you can have my money. But if you're going to throw it down a rat hole like the EDA, you don't touch a dime. My father told me, he was a Navy man, and he told me if the ship went down, the captain went with it. Now, if you want to create a more accountable government and a more accountable EDA, I stand ready to give you my time and my experience to that effort. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, there's no one else signed up. But I do believe there are a couple of staff members here who want to talk.
Okay, if there's anyone who would like to speak, please come forward.
I'm Linda McDonough. I live at 1205 High Top Road, Linden, Virginia. I've been here quite a few times. Started out with the Shenandoah Farms Sanitary District and asking help with that because there was a heck of a lot of money involved in that too. And I'm not for having my sanitary district taxes raised. I'm not for the taxes being raised at all. And I really think that we should think about doing term limits for anybody that is voted in by the public and anyone that is appointed by the county or anything like that. If they're appointed, they have to have term limits too. And that will help avoid somebody being in a position for 20 years. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that'd like to come forward?
My name is Dee Schools. I'm at 467 Freeze Road in Linden, Virginia. Obviously I'm not. I'm one of the angry people. You guys are going to tax me right out of this county. The county collections rate stands at 96.7% according to the slide, but yet Shenandoah Farms only has an 85% collection rate. I listen to y'all's budget. You know, it's really cool. I can watch it on the computer. I watch the budget meetings. I heard that the majority of the uncollected money in Shenandoah Farms is from builders that can afford to keep their property, but they don't have to pay until they want to build on a certain lot. If I have 3 lots, I have to be completely paid up. But yet you're going to raise me again in the Shenandoah Farms Sanitary District. The money's there for teachers. Everybody's pretty much told you, you can find it. You're going to spend more on this audit of the EDA than what you need to support that school system. You want to say that you are not charging the taxpayers for any of this EDA stuff? That's just a lie. It is going to fall on us, and you know it as well as we do. Hold our taxes low, keep them low, figure out what's going on, get yourself together, and then when everything's said and done, if you still need to raise, fine. But look over your budget and figure out what the heck is going on in this county. Thank you.
Anyone else care to speak?
Yeah, I would. My name is Paul Gabbert. I live at 1221 Valley View Drive. When I went to school, teachers taught because they loved it, not for the money. I don't know. Maybe that isn't the way it is anymore. But if they want a raise, give them a raise. But don't raise our taxes. Find it somewhere else. Mr. Whitman and Mr. Stanley should be fired tomorrow.
Thank you.
And a special election should be held to get a whole new board. Because every one of you all knew what was going on. Every one of you. And none of you are going to sit here and look me in the face and tell me you didn't. Did you do that, Mr. Say?
I'm not allowed to.
Oh, no, I did.
Wait a second.
I know, you're not
Wait a
allowed.
second, what's your question, John?
Did you know what was all going on?
Did I know what was on
The
the
EDA.
17.6 million? No.
All of it.
No, wait, you've asked. But I'll tell you, back in 2017, Archie Fox and I in closed sessions, we were asking for a Virginia State Police investigation. And that's a 3-2 decision. And so we couldn't get one, all right? Now, also, yes, I knew who threw the rock through the window, and it wasn't me. My phone number was left at the crime scene.
No, I didn't say you
Okay.
did throw it.
All right, so I've had to file a defamation lawsuit. And then she's turned around and filed one on me because she wants me to drop mine.
Well, that's not,
I am sacrificing for
that's
this
not my
community
point.
like
That's
you
not
don't
my
know.
point.
All right.
I didn't ask you any
thank
questions about rocks being thrown or anything like that. You, Mr. Fox and you said you wanted a special investigation.
Yes, we did.
Couldn't you have gone further? If you knew what was happening, couldn't you have gone further? Beyond a 3-2 vote? Couldn't you have gone further to the public?
Okay. I was doing what I could do, sir, and I was letting people know. I was concerned when I found out
that Jennifer McDonald had done that and framed me. I was concerned for my life. I was concerned for the health of my family being. Now wait a second, sir.
Look out here.
All right, so I told some people so that I wouldn't end up having duct tape put over my mouth and then at the bottom of a lake somewhere or in a shallow grave. Okay? Because I was concerned now.
That's heartbreak, you know?
Well, no way. And so I did what I could to get the word out. Now, it fell on deaf ears. I did as much as I could do, sir. And also when Mark Hager came up to speak, Archie and I supported him to speak. The reason why he was able to speak was because there was the two of us here that wanted him to speak.
There was more. There was more that could have been done by every one of you. Every one of them. Every one of you to blame. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm David Scutt, 17 Donna Court from Royal Virginia. I don't have a whole lot to say. I think that what has gone on is not much short of catastrophic for the county. Nobody looks good coming out of this. Nobody. Mr. Fair, I've met you a couple times personally. I think you're a good guy. I don't personally believe that you're involved in this. I think probably the opposite is true. I am curious, Mr. Stanley, what's so fascinating over there? I've been observing you the entire time.
Taking notes.
Roger that. That's all.
Is there anyone else that would care to speak at this time? Please come forward.
I just have one thing.
It's one time.
Oh, I didn't think it was one.
Oh, always it's one time at a meeting, at a public presentation time.
It's really short, can I speak?
You already spoke. Thank you. If I do that, then a bunch of others may get up. I can't wait.
I wasn't on the list and I wasn't planning on speaking, but after sitting here and listening to everything, I came to Warren County in 1964.
Please.
I'm sorry, Peggy Tobin.
Address, please.
327 Liberty Hall Road. I'm sorry, I was a little nervous and like I said, I wasn't planning on doing this. But anyway, I came to Front Royal in 1964. I went to John S. Mosby School. I had 5 children here. I've raised them all here. All but one graduated here. It just really appalls me at some of the stuff that the local salaries. Warren County has 30-some thousand people. We're just still a small community, and I like to see it stay that way. It's so special. It is so beautiful. Local salaries here just amaze me. 150-some thousand, almost 100,000 for some of the local officials. The new schools, when my last one graduated here in 92, I think it was, 93. Back then, there was a fight for schools, and the board was very conservative and watched that need. So at that time, and I didn't feel we really needed new schools, to be honest with you, but the renovations like John S. Mosby, I just am amazed that they shut that school down and now it's a government building, half empty. And we spend millions of dollars building schools that we really don't need. The new one out on Leech Run, I have relatives that work there, and they say it's not even full. I mean, why are we doing this? I lived in the 4th District all those years, the fire department. Yes, it does need renovating, but why do we need a huge city-wide fire department? And I mean, seriously, are we not looking at things that we need? Are we getting our wants and our needs mixed up? I mean, in the school schedule, they're staggering it now. That would have killed me when my 5 children were growing up. I couldn't have one coming in here, one coming in there, an hour later. And I see buses going up Liberty Hall Road with one child on it. 1 hour difference. You'll see a bus go up, go out, another one go up, but yet we want to save money on the school board. These teachers do need a raise, I agree. They are dealing with children, grandchildren, and I don't know. Right now, I don't own a home here, and I'm not paying taxes, but in behalf of a Warren County citizen, I have been all since '64, and I'm sorry, I'm nervous. But anyway, I am asking you, please, please, look at the budget and things that can be cut. Look at the needs, what really is needed, and what's just wanted. I know that Shenandoah County didn't want that regional jail out there, but McKeithern pushed that. And it is a big dead end expense to this county and the taxpayers here. But just keep it a sweet community. I love this place, and I know your job's hard. I really do. And I thank you for the time.
Is there anyone else?
I heard the breath coming out. You'll be all right. Alicia Perko, 403 was his way limit. I've heard a lot of people come up here and blast you guys. I've seen you guys do great things, and I've seen you guys do poor things, as the rest of us county residents. I'm not going to blast you guys. I am going to tell you that the county or the state average for the county administrator position is $86,000. Why are we paying $150,000 for one role? Do you realize that if we take that plus the $250,000 we're going to pay to mow grass, each teacher can get $2,750 for 100 teachers. That's a significant raise there alone. So I will follow up with everybody else saying, reassess what you've got going on. Thank you.
Anyone else? Please.
Gerry, Maiatico, 157 Remount View Road, Frontville. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, county staff, I certainly do not envy the seats that you sit in today, but I'm here to speak to you in two capacities. One, as a member of your fire and rescue department, as well as a citizen of your community. 204 people. That was my count at the beginning of the meeting. 204 citizens in this room to participate in this process. Two things are clear. They have a vested interest, and they certainly didn't wake up this morning expecting to have a heart attack or a house fire. When we look at our fire and EMS response system, we task you with making hard decisions every day to support our career and volunteer fire and EMS system. We have made great strides this year in front of this board to include the Rivermont Fire Station, which I'll touch on briefly. The Taj Mahal gold-plated building, the unnecessary need that we've heard discussed this evening. Certainly, this was no build it and we'll be happy. This board, the building committee, went through painstaking processes to get to where we're at today in the development and construction of that fire station. We've worked painstakingly with our volunteer system of the Rivermont community, and to contradict what one of the speakers said, we worked with both the Rivermont and Portsmouth fire stations in the consolidation and relocation efforts. We sat in front of this board in this very room and discussed that very issue. You listened to many concerned citizens over that endeavor. It was the only other time I've seen both rooms open in a board meeting because of the turnout. You all did what was asked of you. You left the Portsmouth Fire Station alone, and you proceeded with the construction of the Rivermont Fire Station. Listening to the cost estimates and projections, I was sitting back there on Google, and I was going through some of the projects that I know of in our areas. Example, Orlean Fire Station, $6.9 million project in Fauquier County. Roanoke County, $6.1 million. Fairfax County, Fire Station, $18 million. Fairfax County, $14 million. Fairfax County, volunteer fire stations refurbishment projects, $61 million in the next 5 years. So we did not take this lightly to look at the impact to the taxpayer, to look at the hard decisions that you had to make. You certainly know we could have asked for a lot more in that fire station, and we did not. We have a 15,000 square foot facility projected to last our community for 50 years, and we are grateful for that. Absolutely. We could have built a North Warren fire station, a $2 million fire station all over again, and we'd have the same problems that we have today with that fire station all over again. So certainly I applaud what you have contributed to our fire rescue system, in particularly with the support of the salary and comp study, looking at giving our fire and EMS responders the much needed pay raises to make competitive salaries. Just like our teachers, don't give it all to them. Please share the pot with us, because certainly we understand that our fire and EMS responders, if they travel 40 minutes in two directions, we certainly know we compete with Northern Virginia salaries. A neighboring locality just opened the application process with a starting salary of $47,000 and a 12% pay supplement or ALS initiative for ALS responders. That's $10,000 more than what we pay, and we do not offer an ALS incentive. I can travel to, we compare Loudoun County in our school system, let's compare it in our fire and rescue system. Our paramedics could go to Loudoun County tomorrow with a base salary of $47,000, a $12,000 ALS incentive with a $5,000 sign-on bonus. In the first year, that'll put them right around $64,000 to $67,000, depending on exact figures. So certainly, we understand that we have hard decisions to make, but certainly nobody plans on using our service when they wake up in the morning. When we want to be ready and available to respond to those emergencies. This past Sunday, we had one ALS provider on duty to provide a service to 39,000 people. It's only going to get worse if we don't address the issue. On a side note, let me cover this up. As a taxpayer, I have full confidence that the 204 watchdogs behind me will ensure you will find out what happened and make corrective actions. Don't let that stall supporting our fire and EMS system today, and certainly don't let that, as a taxpayer, I'll talk to you, I'd be glad to pay a higher tax rate if it improves the quality of life for my two children. That's all I have. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would care to speak? Anyone else that would care to speak at this time? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Bob Childress, Deputy County Administrator, 220 North Commerce Avenue, Front Royal. As the county's manager of the Shannon Farm Sanitary District, Mr. Ralph Rinaldi, the chairman of the POSF board, asked me to speak on his behalf this evening. Ralph's out of town, couldn't be here. He sends his regrets. I wanted to speak specifically about the sanitary district tax rate proposed increase in Shannon Farms. POSF board took action at the December 2018 meeting to increase the unimproved lot fee by $5, which would increase it from its current rate of $260 to $265 per lot, and $10 on an improved lot, which would increase the district tax from $295 to $305. Again, the POSF board recommended that at their December 2018 meeting and forwarded to you all for consideration. Again, their full support of the increase. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that, yes?
This may surprise a lot of people. Tim Ratigan, 6079, Stonewall Jackson Highway, Front Royal, Virginia. Like I said, this may surprise a lot of people, but reporters are citizens too. We live in Warren County, and we pay taxes. I'm taking off my hat as a reporter, and I'm going to give you my thoughts. Mr. Sager, you did indeed, along with Mr. Fox, raise the alarm when something was amiss.
Thank you, Mr. Ratigan, I appreciate it.
Unfortunately, the more you seem to have raised your voices, a good portion of the government kind of shut down on you. Because unfortunately, including myself, we all bought the Kool-Aid and we all drank it. It wasn't until very recently that I came out of the fog and that I saw what was going on. I can tell you this, I sat in the office of Jennifer McDonough. She showed me proof. I held the W-2 forms in my hands. They looked legitimate. Everything that she told me sounded completely logical. You know, I've always said, just because you speak with authority and because you use big words does not mean a hill of beans if you're lying and covering things up. Now, in 600 new jobs that was going to come in to Front Royal, but we're here to talk about the taxes. I've already talked about the IT Federal a couple of meetings ago. I hear everybody talking about the teacher salaries. I hear everyone picking apart Doug Stanley's salary. Maybe he does make too much money. Maybe he doesn't. I doubt seriously if too many of the people behind me have spent a lot of time watching him and see how many hours he puts in, or how much effort he puts in. Maybe he is slipping home and watching 3 hours of soap operas. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't, you know. But the point is, you know, we talk about the teachers' salaries, and when I was running my short-lived campaign, I talked about now that we are finished with the brick and the mortar, we do need to take care of the heart and the soul of our school system. We do. Now, I want to keep going back to salaries because I'm going to make a very vocal point, and I'm sure a lot of people behind me are not going to agree with me. But it's worth mentioning. One day, as I was preparing my campaign, and my wife asked me very simply, "Honey, you're putting a lot of work into this." Because before I even announced, I was very busy doing a lot of research. And one day I was pouring through the county code and just looking everywhere. And Pam's like, "What are you doing? Don't you have an article or something to write?" I'm like, "I'm looking for something very important." She said, "Well, what it is? I'll tell you what it is when I find it." And she stomps off in a huff. Well, about 20 minutes later, I go, "Eureka! I found it." And Pam says, "What did you find?" I said, "Do you know how much our Board of Supervisors get paid a month?" It took me a long time, but I found it. Well, you maybe what? Let's pull a number out of the air. 30,000 a year. Does that sound about right? Okay. Let's try 20,000 a year. Okay, let's try when I went to work for Human Life International and stopped the fast food racket, $14,000 a year. Okay, let's Let's cut that in half. $7,000 a year. Unless you've gotten a raise and you haven't changed the code, $7,000 a year. Now you divide that by 12, and what do you get?
It's actually 10-2 is what it is.
10-2?
It's about 10,000.
Really? You need to change the code then. Because here I am going on false information, but the point is,
That's about what the town council wants.
I'm talking about the Board of Supervisors. You guys make $10,200. I'm going to take a look at your code because I think it still reads $7,000. That is still less than $1,000 a month. After taxes, what, maybe $950, $900, maybe $850? $758. So $58 more if you were making what I said you were making before. Okay, so that's still less than $1,000 a month. And I'm guessing you put in 40 hours a week. About? Uh-huh. Okay, I know I'm past my time, but the point is that the community has made some very valid points. Large mistakes were made by everybody. Okay? It's going to take a long time before that trust is built back up. We know that Linda Glavis is going to be stepping down. Someone else will be taking her place. Mr. Murray is running again, and Mr. Carter has another 2 years of his term. So you guys got some time to make good on your mistakes. I heard the snicker back there, and I do believe in people giving an opportunity to correct the mistakes that they made. Yes, we're very angry, we're very hurt, and we are very concerned, even more concerned now, on how are we going to give the teachers' salaries, or the teachers of the salary increases that they need, the fire and rescue, our law enforcement, all of our county employees, when we don't know if we're going to get any of that $17 million back. But I would like to close with this. Our Board of Supervisors are elected, and yes, it is true, you can be elected out just as easy as you're elected in. But I think the community as a whole needs to understand that you guys sacrifice a lot more than a few hours a week. I don't know how many hours into the night you get phone calls, or how many hours you spend in front of your computers answering emails, or how many times you physically go out and drive somewhere to help a constituent, to answer his questions or concerns. Your hard work is appreciated by most, if, not. You know what I'm saying? There may be a few people who are very angry and want you out. Well, that's the way politics is. But I can almost say that there's probably an equal number of people who want you to stay in and fix the mess that you made and hold those people accountable and make sure they don't get away scot-free. So there's a balance. So thank you for your time.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. It's Warren County Code Section 30-2 for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 1999 and ending June 30th, 2000. The salaries of the Board of Supervisors shall be set at a sum not to exceed $7,000 per year. So that was nearly 20 years ago.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I was reading the wrong information, but not, well,
Is there anyone else that would care to speak at this time?
Mr. Chairman, could I say a little something? Yeah, it's your discretion. I just wanted to mention, when I got elected, I was hearing from other jurisdictions. And I want you all to hear that the five of us sitting up here, the type of resources that we do have and that people that we have. All right, some jurisdictions, supervisor might have 2 paid staff. They have different people that help them do things. All 5 of us up here have 0 paid staff helping us, except the clerk, Emily, is our paid staff. So Emily's really serving all 5 of us. So in that way, you're getting a pretty big bang in the buck. You get one person serving all 5 of us. And some supervisors in different counties get paid as if it was their full-time job. And you heard what was said, $10,200. We all give it because we love our community. I can only speak for myself that I know I love this community, and I know that these other 4 that are serving with me, I know you all are angry, but I can tell you that they're trying. I know I'm trying, and that's all I want to say. And please go home tonight and say prayers. Ask our good Lord to help us get through this. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would, anyone else that would care to speak at this time? Second call, anyone else that would care to speak? Third and final call, is there anyone that would care to speak at this time? If not, the public hearing is now closed. And being that we have no action to be taken at this time, we are adjourned.